Kevin Davis gasped in agony as his blood poured from the deep gash in his leg, the dying alien's outstretched hand still gripping his shoulder. He stared at the reptilian creature in shock, the true meaning of its final desperate plea sinking in. Kevin's scout ship lay smoldering in the dirt behind them, alarms still blaring from the surprise attack that forced him to crash land on this uncharted world. That attack, he now realized, was no coincidence. This mortally wounded alien Xanth had risked everything to find him, to deliver an urgent warning with his last breath. The Crocs were coming, a ruthless conquering species hell-bent on subjugating the galaxy, and humanity, along with Xanth's people, the Yatarans, were their primary targets. Kevin clutched the alien quantum communicator in his hand, his mind racing. The device contained proof that the Crocs had already launched simultaneous assaults on Earth and the Yataran homeworld. Billions of lives hung in the balance. Time was running out. He had an impossible choice to make: trust this alien stranger and attempt to forge an alliance with the Yatarans to fight back against the Crocs, or focus on his own slim chances of survival alone on this harsh, unforgiving planet. Kevin gritted his teeth, pushing himself to his feet. He knew what he had to do. Earth needed him. Humanity needed him. And like it or not, it seemed they needed the Yatarans too. He activated the quantum communicator, speaking into it with a voice still ragged with pain. "This is Kevin Davis of the Earth Explorer Corps. I need to speak to Yataran High Command immediately. We have a common enemy, and I'm proposing an alliance." The words tasted foreign on his tongue. A human proposing to join forces with an alien species? It was unthinkable. But the alternative was far worse: subjugation by the Crocs, or extinction. Still, even if the Yatarans agreed, the odds were stacked against them. The Crocs had superior numbers and advanced technology. To stand a chance, Kevin would need to leverage every bit of his combat experience and technical ingenuity, and pray that the Yatarans brought something to the table too. As his tiny ship blasted off the planet's surface to rendezvous with the Yataran fleet, Kevin felt the weight of the impossible task before him. This was only the beginning. An unlikely alliance between human and alien, forged by a dying Plea. The fate of Earth and Yatara, the freedom of the galaxy itself, would depend on whether they could achieve the impossible, fight as one against the Croc scourge. The greatest challenge Kevin had ever faced, one that would test the very limits of his abilities and resolve. Failure was not an option. This was a fight they had to win, for the survival of both their species. He just prayed that a human and an alien could find a way to work together before it was too late for them all. As Kevin's tiny ship docked with the massive Yataran flagship, he felt a mix of hope and trepidation. The airlock hissed open, revealing a squad of armed Yataran soldiers, their reptilian features set in suspicious scowls. "Don't move, human," one barked, leveling his plasma rifle at Kevin. "You're coming with us!" Kevin raised his hand slowly, wincing as the movement pulled at his injured leg. "Wait, I come in peace. I have urgent information for your high command. It's about the Crocs." But the soldiers weren't listening. They roughly seized Kevin, ignoring his protests as they dragged him through the ship's corridors. Other Yatarans paused to stare at the strange human prisoner, whispering amongst themselves. Kevin found himself thrust into a large, dimly lit room. Seated at a high table were three imposing Yataran figures. The high command, he presumed. The one in the center, a scarred, grizzled warrior, fixed Kevin with a piercing glare. "I am Commander Zortok," he growled. "Explain yourself, human. Why have you trespassed into Yataran space?" Kevin held up Xanth's quantum communicator with a shaking hand. "I bring a message from Xanth of the Yataran Scout Corps. He gave his life to warn us, to warn both our peoples. The Crocs are coming. They're attacking Earth and Yatara simultaneously. We need to forge an alliance to fight together, or we'll both fall." Zortok's eyes narrowed. He snatched the communicator, examining it closely. "Xanth? He was one of our best scouts. How did he die?" Kevin swallowed hard, the memory still raw. He sacrificed himself, crashed his ship to get a warning to me. He believes our only hope is to stand together. The Yataran commanders conferred urgently in their sibilant language. Kevin caught only snatches. Can we trust him? What if it's a trick? Zortok silenced them with a raised hand. He turned back to Kevin, his expression hard. You ask much, human. An alliance between our species? It has never been done. How do we know this isn't some deception? Kevin met the commander's gaze unflinchingly. I swear to you, on my honor as a soldier, I am telling the truth. Xanth gave his life for this. I nearly gave mine. Please, we're running out of time. As if on cue, a Yataran officer burst into the room, his face pale. Commander, urgent reports from our outer colonies. They're under attack. It's the Crocs. Talon Prime has already fallen. Zortok hissed, his fists clenching. He looked at Kevin, a new understanding in his eyes. It seems Xanth was right. The human speaks true. He straightened, his voice ringing with authority. We have no choice. The Yatarans will fight alongside the humans. Our survival depends on it. He extended a clawed hand to Kevin. I still have many doubts. But for now, let us plan how we may face this enemy together. Kevin clasped the alien hand firmly, feeling a surge of hope amidst the looming darkness. Thank you, Commander. I have some ideas on how we can combine our strengths. My people have tactics and technology that could mesh well with your own. Over the next hours, Kevin and Zortok pored over star maps and battle plans, debating strategies and sharing intel. Kevin learned of the Yatarans' advanced stealth systems, capable of cloaking entire fleets. Zortok was intrigued by human projectile weapons and jump drive technology. Working with the Yataran engineers, Kevin helped modify their ships to integrate human weaponry. He trained their soldiers in human combat techniques as they taught him their telepathic communication and camouflage abilities. Through it all, a grudging respect developed between the human and Yataran leaders. They came from different worlds, but shared the same iron will to protect their people. But even as their combined forces prepared to strike back against the Crocs, grim news continued to pour in. Human and Yataran colonies were falling like dominoes before the Crocs' onslaught. Time was running out. With the bulk of the Crocs' fleet poised to attack the vital Yataran stronghold of Nexus, Kevin and Zortok knew they had to act now. In a daring gambit, they planned to lead a joint strike force in a surprise assault on the Crocs' command ship. As their mixed fleet of human and Yataran ships dropped out of hyperspace above Nexus, Kevin felt his heart pounding. This was it, the moment of truth. Could a human and an alien truly fight as one? Zortok's voice crackled over the comm, steely with determination. All ships, engage cloaking. Prepare to attack on my mark. Kevin gripped the helm controls, his eyes locked on the looming Crocs dreadnought. He whispered a prayer to any gods listening. Please let this alliance hold. The fate of two species hangs in the balance. Then, as the first plasma blasts lit up the void, the human and Yataran ships soared into battle, united against the darkness. The war for survival had begun. The human Yataran fleet limped back to their staging area, their ships battered and smoking. Kevin's hands shook as he piloted his fighter alongside Zortok's cruiser. They'd won, but at a terrible cost. Status report, Zortok's gravelly voice crackled over the comms. Not good, Kevin replied. We're down to 60% strength. Fuel reserves critical. A blast rocked Kevin's fighter, alarms blaring. More Croc ships poured out of hyperspace, their weapons already firing. Evasive maneuvers, Zortok shouted. Kevin yanked his controls, narrowly dodging a plasma bolt. His engine sputtered and died. I'm hit. Controls unresponsive. He plummeted toward a nearby moon, fighting for control. The surface rushed up to meet him. Kevin braced for impact. The fighter slammed into rocky terrain, skidding to a stop. Kevin dragged himself from the wreckage, blood trickling down his face. He activated his suit's life support and scanned the area. A Yataran outpost loomed in the distance. But as Kevin approached, he saw signs of battle. Bodies littered the ground, Yatarans and Crocs alike. Inside, he found carnage. A handful of Yataran survivors huddled behind makeshift barricades. "Human," one called out. "The Crocs, they're everywhere." Kevin grabbed a fallen plasma rifle. "How many of you are left?" "7," the Yataran replied. "I'm Sergeant Kraz. You in charge now?" Kevin nodded grimly. "Looks that way. We need to fortify this position. The Crocs will be back." They worked frantically, welding doors shut and setting up crossfires. Kevin rigged proximity mines from spare power cells. The first Crocs assault came within hours. Plasma bolts sizzled through the air as Kevin and the Yatarans fought desperately. "We can't hold much longer," Kraz shouted over the din. Kevin's mind raced. He spotted a damaged Crocs comm array. "Cover me!" he yelled, sprinting toward it. Dodging fire, he reached the array and pried open its casing. Kevin's fingers flew as he spliced wires and rerouted power. A makeshift signal pulsed out, hopefully reaching Zortok. Now they just had to survive long enough for help to arrive. Wave after wave of Crocs troops assaulted their position. The defenders' numbers dwindled. Kevin fought alongside the Yatarans, marveling at their bravery. Just as hope seemed lost, the sky lit up. Zortok's fleet had arrived. But Kevin knew the job wasn't finished. He turned to Kraz. "I'm going after their command ship. Can you get me there?" Kraz nodded, leading Kevin to a hidden tunnel. "This will take you beneath their landing zone. Good luck, human." Kevin crept through twisting passages, emerging near the Croc ship. He slipped inside, dispatching guards with brutal efficiency. On the bridge, he confronted the Croc's commander, a hulking, reptilian beast. They clashed in vicious hand-to-hand combat. Kevin's ribs cracked under a powerful blow. He stumbled, barely deflecting the next strike. But as the Crocs lunged, Kevin sidestepped and trapped its arm, twisting until bones snapped. He subdued the alien leader, forcing it to broadcast a surrender order. The remaining Croc ships fled in disarray. Victory belonged to the unlikely allies. But as Kevin reunited with Zortok, grim news awaited. Intercepted transmissions revealed a far larger Crocs armada en route. This battle was won. The war had only just begun. The stench of ozone and burnt circuitry filled the air as Kevin and Zortok strode onto the bridge of the Yataran flagship. Technicians scrambled to repair damaged systems while medics tended to the wounded. The victory had been hard won, but there was no time to celebrate. "Status report!" Zortok barked, his scales still smoldering from a near miss during the battle. A Yataran officer approached, datapad in hand. "Sir, long-range scans confirm a massive Crocs armada inbound. They'll reach our position in less than 72 hours. Kevin's stomach churned. "We can't fight them head-on, not in our current state." Zortok's eyes narrowed. "Then we strike first, hit them before they're ready." For hours, they pored over tactical displays and intelligence reports. Finally, Kevin's finger jabbed at a holographic star map. "There, their staging area. If we can cripple it..." Zortok nodded grimly. "It's a suicide mission." "Not if we use this." The Yataran commander pressed a button, revealing schematics for an advanced cloaking device. "Top secret. It can mask our entire fleet." Kevin's eyes widened. With that, we might stand a chance. The next days were a blur of frantic activity. Kevin oversaw the retrofitting of human ships with Yataran stealth tech, his hands shaking with exhaustion as he soldered delicate components. There was no room for error. Finally, the combined fleet was ready. Kevin stood on the bridge of the lead ship, surveying the armada before him. Human and Yataran vessels side by side, united against a common foe. "All ships, engage cloaking," Zortok ordered. "Prepare for jump." The stars blurred as they plunged into hyperspace. Kevin's heart raced, knowing the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. They emerged in Croc's territory, a massive space station looming before them. Kevin led a strike team in a stealth shuttle, expertly maneuvering past automated defenses. "Concentrate fire on the sensor array," he whispered into his comm as they touched down. Plasma bolts sizzled past as they fought their way through the station. Kevin's muscles burned as he grappled with a Croc super soldier, finally subduing the beast with a well-placed neural disruptor. With the sensors down, the main fleet decloaked. The space around the station erupted in a firestorm of antimatter explosions and kinetic strikes. Kevin fought his way to the command center, facing down the sneering Crocs leaders. "Surrender now," he growled, "or be destroyed." Their refusal sealed their fate. Kevin's fingers flew across a console, uploading the virus. Alarms blared as the reactor went critical. "Fall back!" he shouted, sprinting for the extraction point. The shuttle barely cleared the blast radius as the station detonated in a blinding flash. As the battered fleet limped home, Kevin knew the war was not nearly finished. The real test was yet to come. The Alliance fleet emerged from hyperspace, a ragtag assemblage of human and Yadaran vessels. Kevin Davis piloted his fighter at the vanguard, his heart made as he surveyed the devastation before him. Earth's orbital defense platforms hung in ruins, smoking husks drifting lifelessly against the backdrop of his blue homeworld. "All ships report in," Kevin barked into his comm. A cacophony of voices responded, human and alien alike, their tones grim but resolute. As the chatter died down, Zortok's gravelly voice cut through. "Kevin, we're picking up massive energy signatures. The Crocs retaliation force approaches." Kevin's fingers tightened on the controls. "Copy that. All units, prepare for engagement." The void lit up with weapons fire as the Crocs armada dropped out of hyperspace. Plasma bolts and antimatter torpedoes crisscrossed the battlefield, obliterating ships on both sides. Kevin's fighter dodged and weaved, his targeting computer locking onto Croc's vessels as he unleashed salvo after salvo. Earth's atmosphere glowed an angry red as Croc's ships punched through the weakened defenses, raining death upon the cities below. Kevin's heart wrenched as he caught glimpses of familiar coastlines, now scarred by impact craters and infernos. "We can't hold them back," a panicked voice shouted over the comm. "There's too many." Kevin gritted his teeth, pulling his fighter into a tight loop to avoid incoming fire. "Stay focused. We just need to buy time for the ground evac." His words cut off as a blinding flash erupted from the planet's surface. A massive Crocs dreadnought had unleashed its main cannon, vaporizing an entire metropolitan area. "No!" Kevin roared, his vision blurring with tears and rage. He recognized the coordinates, his hometown gone in an instant. As the battle raged on, reports flooded in from across human and Yadaran space. Colonies fell silent, outposts were obliterated. The psychic screams of dying Yadarans reverberated through their telepathic network, a symphony of anguish that threatened to overwhelm their warriors. Kevin's comm crackled to life, Zortok's voice tinged with desperation. "Kevin, we've intercepted Croc's transmissions. We've located their command center, a mobile battle station. It's the source of all this." "Then that's where we strike," Kevin snarled, his grief crystallizing into cold fury. "We take out their leadership. We end this war." "Agreed," Zortok replied, "but their defenses are impenetrable. We'd need a miracle to breach them." Kevin's eyes narrowed as he remembered a conversation from days earlier. "What about that experimental drive you mentioned? The one that can tear holes in space?" A heavy silence fell over the comm. Finally, Zortok spoke, his voice heavy. "The Rift drive. It's unstable, untested. Using it could destroy us all." "And if we don't use it, the Crocs will destroy everything anyway," Kevin countered. "It's our only shot." Hours later, Kevin stood aboard Zortok's command ship, surrounded by a small team of human and Yadaran elite soldiers. The Rift drive hummed ominously, tendrils of energy arcing across its surface. "One chance," Zortok rumbled, his scaled hand hovering over the activation controls. "Are you ready?" Kevin nodded, his expression grim. "For Earth, for Yadara, for all of us." Zortok pressed the button. Reality itself seemed to scream as space tore open before them. Their ships plunged into the maelstrom, hurtling towards what could be their salvation or their doom. The cosmic turbulence battered their vessels, alarms blaring as systems failed. Just as it seemed they would be torn apart, they erupted into real space, directly inside the Crocs battle station's hangar. Chaos erupted as the stunned Crocs defenders scrambled to repel the impossible boarders. Kevin and Zortok led the charge, their weapons cutting down swathes of enemies as they fought their way towards the command center. They burst onto the bridge, coming face to face with the supreme overlord of the Crocs. The alien tyrant towered over them, its eyes burning with hatred and disbelief. "Surrender now," Kevin demanded, his voice cold and steady. "End this war, or we end you." The overlord's mandibles clicked in derision. "You dare threaten me? My forces will crush you like the insects you are." Zortok's eyes narrowed. "You fail to grasp the situation, Overlord. Look behind you." As the Crocs leader turned, it saw the swirling vortex of the still-active rift drive, growing larger by the second. Its compound eyes widened in sudden, terrible understanding. Kevin and Zortok shared a final look, a lifetime of trust and respect conveyed in a single glance. Together, they activated the rift drive's final sequence. The last thing Kevin saw was the Overlord's face contorting in primal fear as reality itself seemed to implode around them. Then, there was only light and oblivion. Outside, the massive Crocs battle station simply vanished, swallowed by a roiling singularity that collapsed in on itself moments later. The remaining Crocs forces, suddenly leaderless, fell into disarray. In that moment of sacrifice, Kevin Davis, Commander Zortok, and their brave comrades had changed the course of history. They had given their lives so that others might live, and in doing so, forged a bond between their species that would endure long after the echoes of battle had faded.
You have reached the end of the story. If you enjoyed this story and want to support us, please leave a like and subscribe to our channel, and for every comment that says 88, I will heart every single one of them. Thank you for your time.